David, tell us
Yes.
a little bit about your position at PSA. What do you do at Patrick Studios Australia?
So I'm resident music director at Patrick Studios Australia, and I assist Andrew Hallsworth in the running of his diploma in musical theatre course.
And what do the kids do at the music theatre course? Like, what does it involve?
In the music theatre course, obviously they sing, dance, and act. Keep those three things happening together all at once as much as possible, because obviously you need to be a triple threat to be a musical theatre these days.
Yeah.
And they do a lot of things like vocal alchemy, and they do a voice science class, and they do different styles of acting classes and all styles of dancing as well.
What actually is a triple threat in
Well, I've
industry?
changed triple threat actually, and I've changed it into quadruple threat because I think you have to be a quadruple threat to be a musical theatre.
What's the fourth element?
Discipline!
Oh, fantastic. No, you're actually right. Discipline.
Self-discipline.
Oh,
And I think that comes first. You know, everybody says I'm a singer, dancer, actor, or I'm an actor, dancer, singer, or but I think you have to be self-disciplined first with everything.
I actually agree with you, David, and I think it has to be the self-discipline that gets you up in the morning to A, go to dance class,
Yeah.
B, watch yourself in dance class video, watch it back, do your acting lesson, B, like examine what you've done in acting, have the courage to go and confront yourself and go, that wasn't very good, I need to do that again, which
Exactly.
is self-discipline and self-education, and the same
Yeah.
and same with your vocals.
Yeah, and at Patrick Studios, we put a lot of that responsibility back on the students to, go home and do their homework and go and research and watch things back of themselves and do, voice lessons, recorded voice lessons at home, and then set homework for them so they can, keep on top of everything.
Lucky kids.
Yes.
So, you were the first person who came to Vocal Alchemy and said, hey, I think this is a perfect product to introduce into the full-time curriculum. What inspired you to do that?
Well, we've always had, as part of the curriculum at Patrick Studios in the music theatre course, we've always had weekly private singing lessons for all of our students included in their course cost. And it's a 2-year course, and we struggled in the first couple of years because we obviously couldn't send all of the students to the same singing teacher, and we had a very varying different singing teachers that taught different styles and that had different strengths, and we found that the students, if they went to one singing teacher, they'd be getting really great technique, but they wouldn't be getting repertoire, and if they went to another singing teacher, they'd be getting great repertoire, and they wouldn't be getting very good technique, and it was hard to kind of get a blanket discipline and teaching for all of the kids on a private level. So that's why I came to you guys with Vocal Alchemy, and I think it's the perfect way to teach all of my students the same technique, and it's very, very good technique, and it's communicated in a way that the students can understand and learn the most. And that way I've got a class of 18 students that are learning exactly the same thing, rather than them feeling like they're not getting certain parts of singing training because then they don't have the singing teacher that does that kind of thing.
Oh, that's fantastic. And once we did come on board, which we did, do the kids experience any obstacles using the program?
The only obstacles that we experience with the kids is the kids.
Okay, so how do we fix that?
Well,
Self-discipline.
it's a hard thing to fix because vocal alchemy, which is the same as acting training and dance training to a certain extent, if you don't allow the information in, then you're not going to learn. And everybody is different, obviously, and everybody learns differently, but trying to get the kids to that point very, very quickly at the start of the year where they can feel comfortable enough to allow information in is the biggest obstacle.
Right. What was the initial attitude of the students when you said to them, we've got this fantastic product, you're going to be learning to sing online?
Their first reaction was very skeptical, obviously. We introduced it in the middle of kind of a changeover period at Patrick Studios, and So some students thought that the students that were starting that year that thought that they were going to get private vocal training and then discovered that they weren't going to get private vocal training for the first year were a little bit skeptical. That was fixed by Tim coming in to do a 3-hour workshop and them going, amazing!
Right.
Yeah.
So, David, do you think that the live workshops, do you think perhaps there should be more of the live workshops? Or do you think, because there's currently 4?
Yeah.
You know?
I think I don't think that there needs to be more live workshops. I think that perhaps we could find a way of keeping Tim in touch with the students in some way. I don't know whether he needs to be there more or something like that, but some kind of keeping them more engaged with him as a person, I think might be good.
Okay, fantastic. And how did you go about managing where the students were up to in their lessons? Like, did you, I know that we give you the report that says, okay, this person's done up to lesson 5, this person's done up to lesson 6. So with that, then how did you go about going, right, the next workshop's coming up, you need to have done?
Yeah, well, you know, it's not, it's kind of, you know, we all start at the same place, and then I kind of set vague goals for the students and myself in the group classes, the catch-up group classes that we have every week with them. And it's really easy, you know, like I don't really look at the reports that much. It's really easy to tell what student has been doing the work and what student hasn't been doing the work from their work that they do in class.
Can I ask you, what do you see that's different?
Just an understanding of what's coming out of my mouth. They'll either understand it or they won't understand it, or they'll be able to, some techniques they might not be able to do, but they know what should be happening and they know how to speak about it.
And so are they asking you better questions?
They're asking me heaps better questions, not just stupid, vague questions.
Okay,
like the ones that don't do the work at home.
Do you believe that Vocal Alchemy's complemented the other things you have in place, like the, you know, the still work that the kids do?
With the still work specifically, I think it's been good for the students to learn the actors method, which I believe is the vocal alchemy side of singing training, and the technical scientific method of singing training, and kind of figuring out what's best for them to learn.
What serves
We've taken out the still training this year,
Okay.
this year, because it's just, I don't think has been as beneficial as it could have been.
Okay.
Just because of the mindset of the students, I think that we've had in the last 2 years, that they just haven't benefited as much as other people have. So we've taken it out.
The students are learning differently now. They're not, the old education paradigms are not serving the younger students, simply
Absolutely
because
not.
their brain is processing a million miles faster than our brains ever processed.
And they're a doing kind of people now. They're not a sit down and they're not listeners at all.
Exactly. You know, and so really as educators we have to move with that.
Yeah.
Do you continue to make changes to the way that you and the students work with the program?
Constantly.
And then settle on something that works well for you?
Yeah, I think the great thing about Vocal Alchemy and me knowing the program so well now is that I can adapt class time on the spot, on the fly, to whatever the students may need. And I might walk into a class and go, right, we're going to cover this and we're going to do this and I'm going to get up to here.
Yeah.
And then I'll walk out of the class 2 hours later and go, cool, so I didn't do any of what I was going to do, but we achieved so much because this group of 5 needed this and this group of 6 needed that. So we spoke about that and we did all of these other things and I had all of these questions that I needed to answer. So yeah, sometimes, like, I found a lot this year, last year, because I know the program a little bit better now, I feel, I can't tell you exactly the specifics of what I'm about to try and say, but I feel some of the lessons are in the wrong order.
Oh, okay.
Just because of what I found with the kids.
All right.
And sometimes I found like, this is just an example, but I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 15, 16, 17, and then 7, 8, 9.
Right.
And then I might get to 22 and have to go back to 11 just to reiterate all of that kind of thing.
Right.
But that's just an example. I do that so much. I mean, the course structure in Vocal Alchemy is such a good guide, but I definitely jump around a lot all of the time.
Oh, that's really good to know. Really good to know. Yeah. Thank you for that. Did the as you go on throughout the year, do the students, does their attitude towards the fact that the lessons are online, because a lot of people go, how do you learn to sing? How do you learn to sing online? Does it change? Do they actually go?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, so once they start using it, they go, actually, this works.
So they do that in the first term.
Yep.
I would say, and then in the second term, they get distracted by other things and other outcomes in the course, and you have to bring them back to the training.
Okay.
You have to start setting goals again because they get distracted. And then the same thing happens again in third term. And then by fourth term, when a lot of them realize that a couple of them are way ahead of everybody else, everything comes back into fourth term and they go, shit, I've only got a term left. I need to get all of this in now.
So what sort of goals do you set when you find that when they're drifting? What do you do?
I go back to a strict regimented class and I go, so next week I need you to be very, very familiar with lesson 7 and we're going to do these exercises, and then I'm going to go around the class and make sure that you can do everything.
So it really needs your hands-on input.
Yeah, I think it does, yes. But my teaching mentality with everything is that this is I see myself more as a facilitator than a teacher. I'm going to give you the information. What you choose to do with it is up to you. And the students that want to learn will excel, and those that don't have as much of the drive to start with will either see those students excelling and going, I have to work hard because I have to be better or as good as them, or they'll just drop off. And I mean, their enthusiasm kind of stays there, but there's, varying levels of progression throughout the year, and it always happens. I'm not one for punishment or I think I push my students a lot anyway. And, at the end of the day, they're paying me for a service. So
that's true. I think what you just said is really interesting in that there's a certain amount of the students will actually take inspiration from the others around them.
Oh, constantly.
Yeah.
I think more than anything else, the students around them will influence their learning more than any teacher would ever.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important to get, and this is what I've been struggling with this year with the new kids, you just have to take these people and you just have to, and I can't just take 15 people because that class of 15 people is going,
is influenced by each and every...
they're all influenced. Yeah. So, and if they're not going to work together, then at the end of the 2 years of the course, I'm going to have 15 people that won't work and won't be a good marketing tool for the course.
Of course.
So I'd rather take 7 really great people than taking 15 just because I have to take 15.
I totally understand.
And then we have to make it work for 7 people financially.
Yeah, no. There are so many elements. As the kids went along, did you see any outstanding improvement or change in their singing and performance once they started to implement the Vocal Alchemy methods?
Yes. Massive. The kids usually have, I've found, they kind of sit there and take on the information for the first bit of the program. And, we do weekly lessons with me, and then we have the 4 things with Tim. And then gradually throughout the start of and middle of term 2, there'll be this huge breakthrough in every student. It'll be during one singing class or something will happen, and it's usually got to do with vibrato is the biggest breakthrough. Right. Where everything just opens up and it's like a whole, like the clouds have just parted and the sun comes through. It's so awesome to watch the kids when it happens.
I have to say I know that when we're doing the workshops, when we do the Broadway voice workshops, and I sit there and I'll get goosebumps. I actually get goosebumps that goes all over me, and I'm just like, that moment of transformation or realization is just invaluable, and I
think it's so wonderful for the individual, but also watching the group react when it happens is incredible because they all know what they're listening for.
Absolutely.
It's incredible. It's so good.
Oh. Did the students find the program easy to use, or were there some changes they or yourself would like to see in the delivery? Like, is there a way we can improve it that makes it more user-friendly?
Yeah. You know, I've been thinking about this year, last year, because I can't remember why we did this, but I think we unlock half the lessons and then we unlock the other half. Is that right? Throughout the year?
Yeah, we do. What we do is we do it in
terms. Yeah.
So do you think it would be better if we unlocked, as you were saying, because if you're skipping around, then that's going to make it more challenging.
Yeah, but I think I skip around in the first half of the lessons, and then I skip around in the second half of the year. I skip around in the last half of the lessons with a couple of recaps to the first couple.
Right.
So, but having said that, I think we have to limit the students' kind of access to the lessons, because I don't want them to get distracted by things that I'm not talking about and then they're not ready for.
Well, that's exactly why we thought that would be the best way to do it.
Some of the students did bring up last year, you know, I can't open lesson 18, and I'm going, well, you don't need to open lesson 18 yet because you're still in lesson 2.
We believed at Vocal Alchemy the method of complementing the video lessons at home in the students' own time and at their own pace, and then coming into the class and discussing the theory, like sharing their insights and performing and tweaking and polishing, would lead to accelerated vocal learning. So in comparison to your previous experience, do you think that works? Absolutely.
Okay. Absolutely. I think to get all of the students, because the Vocal Alchemy training is so good, technically anyway, and it's what everybody wants to sound like. I think that group training for any singer anywhere is the best way, and like, you know, with the complemented online lessons is the best way to get a good grounding in vocal technique without wasting money on a private singing teacher that you know nothing about but has done 50 million shows. Great, but doesn't have or just, you know, doesn't have the ability to teach good technique. Yeah.
So you said something just then that was like, it's that's what everybody wants to sound like.
Yeah.
What is that sound?
I don't know.
Okay.
The sound is. It's not about the sound. It's about the feeling of. Do you know what I'm trying to say? I don't even know what I'm trying to say, but
I believe that it's authentically them.
That's what it is.
And, you know, they're not trying to sound like someone else. They're not going, oh, I want to sound like this person, or I want to sound like that person, or someone has said to them, you need to make this tone. You need to make this. It isn't about that. It's about discovering
It's the journey of self-discovery that they go on to get the sound that they make is the thing that they want to do. Yeah.
And it's their sound, it's their authenticity, and then they bring that to and they connect that with the song, and then that we then go,
yeah,
that is then breathtaking for us. And so I would go a step further and go, okay, you said that's the sound everybody wants, but as a listener, it's what we feel.
Yeah, it totally is.
And we feel their authenticity.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I think they feel their authenticity too.
Well, there's nothing standing in its way.
No, yeah.
So suddenly we see all of them. Or whatever they are what they're communicating. And,
definitely.
And with complete freedom.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know, without the restriction.
Freedom is a scary thing, though.
But freedom is vulnerability, you know.
Which is very scary.
Well, I suppose it takes courage. How do you think the way the students engage with their vocal learning differs from your experience of teaching without Vocal Alchemy?
I think it differs because of the structure that it's put in place.
Okay.
And, you know, I knew how to sing and I knew how to teach singing before Vocal Alchemy. But I think what Vocal Alchemy has done for me as a teacher is kind of put everything in some kind of explainable order. And which has achieved two things. It's made me a better teacher, and it's also taught me more things about singing because it's kind of ordered everything in my head a little bit more concisely.
I want to thank you for your amazing feedback.
My pleasure.
And your ongoing support and passion for Vocal Alchemy. Like, it's
Pleasure.
It means the world to us because it's what we wanted. It's what we wanted. It's what we wanted for students. It's what you know. It's what we wanted for singers was to provide, like you've just said, the portal to some sort of vocal world where they can go in and play and go.
Yes, a one-stop shop. I need to go there because I need to. It is. No, that's what I need to. Rhonda Birchmore taught me that phrase, and I've used it since working with her.
One-stop shop.
Yeah, it's the one-stop shop for everything voice.